Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk, and recently I entered the 46 Ludum Dare game jam. And so today in this video I'm going to be showing you the development process of the game that I made for that jam. So the jam started at 9 p.m. on the Friday the 17th, and immediately I got the theme, which was Keep It Alive. Now, unlike my previous game jam, I came up with a bunch of ideas really quickly, and I immediately kind of had an idea of a game that I really wanted to make. So I think there's a lot of ideas that you can go with Keep It Alive. It's very broad. You can physically keep something like a plant alive, or you could, try to keep yourself alive, keep enemies alive. The idea that I came up was an idea where you'd have to keep enemies alive in a kind of roguelike kind of game. Not really a roguelike, but a shooter game. And the longer you keep those enemies alive, the more points you will actually earn, so it's an incentive to keep them alive. So the first real things I started to do is make a new Unity project, and I immediately started to make my player art. And as you can see, I went through a lot of different ideas for this player art. It took me a while to really get them right and what I really wanted him to look like, but I eventually set it up on this simple little guy. I also made some animations for him walking left, right, up, and down. And the last thing I did that night was make a very simple player movement script to get my player moving. So the next day I did wake up pretty early, and I really started working on shooting, and I really wanted to make sure that my player could have a really good shooting system. So I used this really cool shooting system I use in a lot of my different games, and I also added in my animations, so now my player could shoot and walk around with his animations. I then started on making my enemy spawning system, and for the enemy, I immediately just thought of a simple slime, because I thought it'd be pretty simple to draw and would just make for a pretty effective enemy, so I ended up drawing this simple little slime guy. Next, I wanted to make sure this enemy could actually move and take damage, so I wrote a really simple enemy script, which will pretty much make him just move towards the player wherever the player is. It's super simple, and I also made him so he can take damage. My game was looking a little plain, so I made this simple tile set inside of Sprite, and I imported that also into Unity. Fast forward a few hours, and I had a ton of progress into the game. I set up my enemy spawning system, my enemy score UI, my health UI, and all this different kind of stuff. So my enemies would actually destroy, and when you destroy, based off how long they've been alive, they will give you more points. So you want to try to keep them alive as long as possible so you get the most points upon killing them. And I also set up some simple kind of things inside of the environment so you can try to navigate and trap them in these kind of little areas. Not only did I do all of this, but I also made it so I can take damage from my enemies, and I made this really cool mechanic where you can press space to zoom out and so you can see bigger portions of the map. Now, by now, I really should have been focusing on gameplay and all that different kind of stuff, but I have a tendency to get kind of bored, so I ended up making these scene transitions, which are really simple to do by using all my games, and I also made this pretty cool start screen. As of now, my game was playable, but didn't really have a game loop, so I ended up making a pause menu, a game over menu, a kind of high score feature, your score feature, and some extra cosmetics and things to the scene which really added up, like some grass tiles and these kind of waste buckets I found on the ground, kind of spiced up my scene. And I really just worked on the game loop and started testing around the game. I really wanted this game to be well polished and feel good and have a lot of game juice. So I remember back in my last game jam, someone recommended that I add some screen shake, and I thought that was a really good idea to add into this game. So I went into Unity and I added a very subtle screen shake whenever you shoot an enemy and kill it. And that was the end of my first full day. But while I was in bed that night, I had an idea for a mechanic that would totally change the way how my game would be played. Pretty much the idea was slimes would grow over time instead of just having them multiply on how long they've been alive, and the longer they are alive, the more points they are worth. I think that's really helped with the visual representation of when your slime's actually worth amount of points, so you actually know when to actually kill them. So I immediately got into Sprite the next morning, started drawing the different forms of slimes, including a small slime, a kind of small slime, a average slime, a kind of large slime, and a very large slime. I imported these slimes into Unity and immediately started working on my slime upgrade system and made it so they would actually upgrade every single 5 seconds and they'd be worth more points every single 5 seconds. By now my game was playable but not perfect in pacing or any of that kind of means or difficulty curve. So I kind of just took a break from that and I started working on this kind of tutorial system. I kind of decided to decide what I named my game. I eventually settled on the game Slimekeep, but yeah, that's what I did. And for the tutorial, I made a kind of tutorial where you can switch between slides, which are really simple slides to learn how to play the game. Now the next thing I knew I needed to do was make something I haven't been looking forward to this whole jam. That thing was music. Now in other jams, most of my other games, like I either don't have music, and which I kind of regret, or I just rely on someone else like Gizmo Dude to make the music for me. So this is going to be a real challenge for me. I decided to use a tool called Beatbox, which I know is pretty popular for making kind of chiptune like music. I really just started fiddling around in there, trying to make some drums, bass lines if I don't really know what those are. And I mean, I don't really know, like, I try to make melodies, I think that's what you call them. I really have no clue on music theory. So I started making this simple song, and I'll play it for you now, and honestly, I'm really happy with it. I know it's not the best song, but for my first really song I've ever made, I'm super proud of it. I also made a quick menu theme, and so I'm going to play both of those songs right now. So I hope you guys did like that music, and I know I'm pretty happy with it. But after sending the game to playtest with some of my friends, I thought a good mechanic would add was to make something that I could actually clear hordes of slimes more efficiently. So originally I started making a sword, but that didn't really work out. I spent an hour, 2 hours on this sword. Unfortunately it didn't work out, but instead I had this other idea, this kind of like void system. Pretty much where you could like shoot out a portal or a void, I guess I would call it, and whenever enemies walk into that thing, they will just die. And I was thinking of having it so another encouragement to kill the big slimes is just to they have a small chance of dropping a void pickup. You can pick that up and then shoot at the enemies, and it'll destroy a bunch of them in like kind of a radius. And I'll show you that to you right now. I then added this kind of system to the tutorial so you can actually tell what the portals do, and I then went on to make a bunch of small tweaks about 2 hours before the deadline. So I made some things where the portal destroys when it actually hits the enemy. I made a simple crosshair, which was not as easy as I thought it was. I made a hold to shoot feature, but it doesn't shoot that fast because I wanted to balance it out so you can't just hold down and kill everything. I also made some bigger hitboxes, changed the portal name to Void because I thought it would be less confusing. And I messed around with the difficulty curve so the game felt more balanced at the beginning and had better pacing overall. And after some more tweaks, that was pretty much it, and I built my game out and I submitted it to Ludum Dare on time. I also uploaded it to itch.io. So yeah, that's pretty much the game that I made for Ludum Dare. It's still, again, as I said in my last video for my game jam, definitely not a perfect game. It's kind of OP to keep it on the biggest camera system. The cursor is kind of small and I had some issues with that, and pacing could always be improved, and just overall there's a lot of things I would like to add or change in the future if I changed this game or actually went somewhere with it. But still, overall, I'm still really happy with it. I don't think it's to be like a top contender in Ludum Dare just because of the sheer amount of games that there are inside of the jam. But overall, I'm still really happy with the game. I think it's a fun experience, and it's pretty addicting gameplay. I'm actually like really proud of it, and I like the kind of high score feature. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe, or anything you want to do. You don't have to, but be appreciated. And yeah, you can play the link. I'll make sure to leave a link to the Ludum Dare page and the itch.io page in the description if you actually want to play the game. Give it a try. That'd be really cool. And so yeah, thanks for playing. Let me know if you like the game in the comments below or anything like that. But yeah, bye.